I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. We are here at the Metals Investor Forum in November, and we're live in person in Vancouver. It's nice to see you, Chris.
Thank you. It's nice to be here and be around other human beings
right?
again.
Three-dimensional people. Chris, Integra, big news event coming in the next month. You guys have been very clear that you're going to put out your PFS, your pre-feasibility study, before the end of the year, and it's the middle of November, so it's got to be almost here. Take us through sort of how this is changing. You guys have put news out on this, so I know you can talk about it. How the scale and infrastructure of this project is transforming really versus the PEA that you put out last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of have to back up a little bit when you look back to the PEA. You know, we only used 1.8 million of our ounces to build that, which was 10 years, 125,000 ounces per year, and it had strong economics, after-tax IRR of 43%. So. You know, the reason we only used that sort of smaller portion of the resource was because that was all the oxide and the transitional material, you know, that worked well with the heap leach. We didn't have enough of a metallurgical understanding on the sulfide material at the time to have confidence to put that into a study. So we do now. So we will be adding, you know, a significant chunk of that to the pre-fees. We expect a nice healthy increase from that 125,000 ounces. You'll just have to wait and see what the numbers are soon when that study comes out. We're expecting it in the next anywhere from a week from now to maybe 3 weeks, somewhere in that time frame. So yeah, a much larger project really when you look at it. The heap leach, 27,000 ton per day guidance from the PEA. You should see a healthy increase on the size of that. The mill was going to be 2,000 ton per day, and now probably somewhere in the 8,000 ton per day sort of range. And we also have done some trade-off studies on silver recoveries. You know, at the time the input was 1690 silver and 1350 gold for the PEA, and obviously things have changed quite a bit in terms of pricing. So I think you're still seeing sort of 1500 to 1550 is kind of the number people are using for gold inputs, which is reasonable. So you should see a nice healthy increase in the economics. I mean, the cost is going to go up as well, but I still think it's going to kind of be under that sort of threshold of half a billion dollars to build, which is nice. There's just not a lot of those kinds of projects that can, you know, spit out north of 100,000 ounces and at least a 10-year mine life and that sort of thing, right? So yeah, we're excited to get that out to the market, and we'll see how it reacts once it does. It's been a tough go for us for about a year now, but for the whole sector, I mean.
A few things I think you undersell it a bit, like north of 100,000 ounces for 10 years. This is going to be well north of 100,000 ounces. That's what you guys have guided, and I know you're just about to put out news. You have to be very careful about suggesting what that's going to be, but it's going to be well north of 100,000 ounces, and like this is a project with scale. Now, speaking of the market reaction, is going to be very interesting. I think we sort of, in the last 2 weeks, the whole gold sector has shifted in a fundamental way, with the, you know, erasing the fear of rate hikes and gold responding positively to inflation, which is great to see. We don't need to get into that right now. What I wanted to get into was a pre-feasibility study. You know, this is sort of like, wah. They're really important. They're very value driving for the moment, and then what? And so let's talk about Integra's approach to then what after this pre-feasibility study.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you've always, everyone's heard of the Lassonde curve before. So, and really, if you think about it, in most cases, I don't think that it's something that companies have to endure. And it was the same thing we did with Integra Gold. We were developing at the same time as continuing exploration, and that keeps some healthy interest from the market for sure. So for us, we will continue to drill. Florida Mountain's been kind of a priority for us, as you can see. I mean, we've got over 100 hits now into grade that's at least 4 gram per ton gold equivalent or better. And we think that, you know, we've got a high grade concept that we've been working on sort of internally now for the last year. And we think there's some really robust economics that could be wrapped around the high grade that we've hit right underneath the low grade of Florida Mountain. And it's traditionally what the old timers, you know, it's the same methodology. We're actually waiting for the BLM to let us know if we can go ahead and put a drift into the side there so we can get underground and drill that close spaced and speed that process up to try to get that into some sort of a study in the next 18 to 24 months. So yeah, so that'd be pretty exciting for us. And then as you probably saw with Sullivan Gulch, you know, we're able to have these 100-meter step outs and we're hitting, you know, good intercepts that are, you know, 100 meters wide or better, you know, of good low grade. That's going to add to the mine plan and add to the longevity of the project. And in a nutshell, we're really just kind of scratching the surface on this, but at the same time, we're steadily moving this. So once we have the pre-fees out, we will be able to submit our plan of operations at some point in the first half of next year, and that kind of officially launches the start of the permitting process, which record of decision. We're hopeful that it would be sometime mid to back half of 2024. So really, that's not too far from now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things there that are interesting. I mean, you talk about continuing exploration while you're developing, and that it's what I like about the exploration that Integra is doing is, like you say, there's this high grade story at Florida Mountain that could be tacked onto the mine plan in the fairly near term. Like you say, this will depend on being able to delineate the resource properly, but when you're talking about a reasonably low grade mine plan, it's very economic. You said the PEA has a 43% IRR, so we know that it's economic, but it's still low grade. The idea, the potential to add some high grade juice to that, those things can shift valuation, and the value of a project pretty dramatically.
Agreed. And as we all know, most companies are severely undervalued as we sit. So fingers crossed for this gold market to continue going. But even if it doesn't, we're very fortunate in that, there's just not a lot of these types of projects out there for the mids and the majors to go after. And we're starting to see, some of these acquisitions sort of trickling into the sector. And usually, unfortunately, it takes a really good high price and a bull market to really kick things off. And so I think we're positioned well.
Yeah, and I think a bunch of that farther afield, if you want to call it, not farther afield, the other exploration targets that you're pursuing, maybe they don't add the obvious high grade juicer component to the mine plan, but they add lots of opportunity, and any major that's interested in taking on this large asset is going to want to see that there's more potential out there.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, not only does that, that Florida Mountain high grade have a, specifically, it'll increase the production profile once again, whatever the new number is coming out here with the pre-fees fairly soon, it would have a pretty big impact on that as well. So yeah, all in all, has a lot of potential for scalability. It's a large land package that we've got, and like when you look at the Black Sheep district, which is our sort of greenfield aspect of the story, there's about 8 or 9 targets in there that we've only really drilled into 2 of them so far, and we just hit 2 holes into Georgiana and Lucky Days, and it came back looking very similar to what you see at Florida Mountain, which is the low grade near surface, and then you get into some high grade veins below that. So two holes into a deposit doesn't make it, or into a target doesn't make a deposit. But the idea being that these can be maybe some satellite deposits here and there that you can feed into the mill and into the production scenario.
Well, in my talk that you just had to sit through, I mean, I was saying, what do you buy now if you think that the gold market's getting exciting? And I talked about easy wins and assets that are in the PEA, PFS stage that have a bunch of catalysts ahead. Was my solution, and Integra fits that bill.
Well, thank you, and I couldn't agree with you more. I really think that it's fairly. There's some certainty to think, okay, if this market goes back over 2000, we should see the same prices at least that we saw when that happened.
And that's
back
a 50% gain for you guys just from where you are.
Yeah. And a re-rate on paper at least for the pre-fees from the analysts that do cover us, I would think.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thanks for the update. We look forward to the study when it shows up, and maybe we'll do another catch up then when you are more able to talk freely.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Gwen.
Thanks.